China claims 80% of the South China Sea. The Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei say, no, you don't. One of Asia's most respected diplomats calls China's claim.
The 9-dash line that China has drawn in the South China Sea has no basis in international law at all.
So the 9-dash line, as I said in my book, The New Asian Hemisphere, has become an albatross.
This is the story of how one line on a map became the greatest threat to China's rise. For most of human history, the sea belonged to no one. It connected civilizations, carried explorers, merchants, pilgrims, and empires. No king could fence it. No empire could possess it. In 1947, the Republic of China drew a line on a map. Decades later, the People's Republic of China inherited the claim and expanded it. 9 dashes, one claim, 80% of the South China Sea. Today, that line is at the center of one of the most consequential disputes in international politics. To understand why, we have to go back to the rules that govern the world's oceans. In 1982, the world agreed on a deal. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. Every coastal nation gets an exclusive economic zone, 200 nautical miles of water where they control the resources. Beyond that, the sea belongs to everyone. It was an imperfect compromise, but it worked. Then China drew a line that cut through all of it. The Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan all claim parts of the same waters. And in 2013, the Philippines decided to test China's claim in court. The Philippines argued that China's claim violated UNCLOS. China responded, the tribunal has no authority. Beijing cited Article 298, a provision allowing states to exclude maritime boundary disputes from compulsory arbitration. The tribunal rejected this argument. It ruled that the dispute was not about sovereignty, but about the legality of China's claim itself. The result, China's 9-dash line had no legal basis under international law. China called it null and void. The legal disagreement remains unresolved. Reasonable people can disagree about history. They can disagree about law. But strategy is judged differently. Strategy is judged by its consequences.
The Chinese Coast Guard and Chinese militia vessels have no right whatsoever to place a blockade or impede or otherwise control the movement of the Philippines Coast Guard and Philippine supply boats in Ayungin Shoal or anywhere else in the West Philippine Sea.
The documentary could end here, with competing legal arguments, competing historical narratives, and competing interpretations of international law. But that would leave a deeper question unanswered. Reasonable people can disagree about history. They can disagree about law. But strategy is judged differently. Strategy is judged by its consequences. Few thinkers have argued more consistently for Asia's peaceful ascent than Singaporean diplomat Kishore Mahbubani. For decades, he has urged the world to recognize Asia's resurgence and encouraged Asia to assume a larger role in shaping the international order. Yet on the 9-dash line, his assessment is striking.
One of the biggest mistakes that China has made is in strongly endorsing the 9-dash line. Now, we all don't know where the 9-dash line came from. Professor Wang Gungwu, the greatest Asian historian in the world today, has said that the 9-dash line was probably created by the Japanese when they controlled China and Taiwan, as you know.
Why? Not because he rejects China's rise, but because he believes the strategy undermines it.
The 9-dash line that China has drawn in the South China Sea has no basis in international law at all.
Then comes his central argument. China is no longer merely a continental power. It is now a preeminent maritime trading power. Its prosperity depends upon open sea lanes, predictable rules, and the confidence of nations whose ships traverse the same oceans.
It is not in China's national interests to see the 9-line succeed, because China today is a global naval power. There are more Chinese goods traveling around the world than American goods traveling around the world. How can Chinese goods travel around the world? They need open seas. They need countries to adhere to a 12-mile territorial limit. Right? It's in China's interest. So why grab this small body of water in South China Sea and endanger your global interests?
In Mahbubani's view, an ambiguous maritime claim sits uneasily beside those interests. He has even described the 9-line as...
So the 9-line, as I said in my book, The New Asian Hemisphere, has become an albatross.
The phrase comes from Samuel Taylor Coleridge's poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. A sailor kills an albatross and is forced to wear its corpse around his neck as a curse. Every other sailor sees it. They know what he did, and they cannot trust him. That is the burden Mahbubani warns of. A claim that the world sees and cannot accept. This is no longer a legal question. It is a strategic one. Not is China right, but what strategy best serves a rising global power?
Now this South China Sea is 2 or 3% of the world's oceans, maybe 1%. Why give up 99% of the world's oceans for 1%? And I think the Chinese have got to figure out how to handle this carefully and sensitively, because at the end of the day, they need good ties with the ASEAN countries. And the 9-line creates a point of friction between China and the ASEAN countries. And since this point of friction was created by China, China has got to remove that point of friction.
China wants a multipolar world, a world where many nations shape the international order. But multipolarity implies something else. If every rising power invokes history to redraw the sea, can multipolarity survive? Indonesia is rising. Vietnam is rising. India is rising. Every historical claim invites another. China's prosperity is inseparable from the sea. A maritime power depends on open seas. An expansive maritime claim asks the world to accept something different. For the Philippines, this is about sovereign rights within an exclusive economic zone recognized under international law. For Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, it's about security, predictability, and trust. When those expectations diverge, uncertainty becomes strategy's silent architect. Perhaps the central question is no longer who owns the sea, but how does a great power persuade others to trust the order it hopes to lead? History rarely renders its judgment immediately. Sometimes it takes decades, sometimes generations. This documentary has not sought to resolve those disagreements. It has asked, what strategy best serves a rising global power? Power can secure a coastline. Prosperity can build a fleet. But maritime leadership requires something more enduring. It requires confidence, credibility, in order that others are willing to navigate together. History will decide whether the 9-line expanded China's influence or diminished the very confidence upon which a great maritime power depends. The sea remembers no empires, only the rules that survive them.